Everything working? Okay, checking in. Let's see if this mic here is picking up. I don't know. So wait till people check in. And yes, it is the right side up now. Some lessons you don't have to learn twice. All right, so 2 minutes. I'm early. I'm always early. So I wait for people to check in. Can you hear me? Whoever is there, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Because I'm not too sure if the mic is working. Wave. Can you hear me or no? You can't hear me then. I was trying to fix this thing. Let me see. I'll just wait for Mike to see. No. One more minute. Okay. Hi there. Let's see, view request. I think I let him in. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You can hear me clearly, right?
I can, yes.
Okay, good. How are you?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. Thanks for joining me. So, today I made Jamaican ginger beer
Oh,
with
very
lime,
cool.
but there's the thing. I haven't put any alcohol in it yet because I'm going to put it in it by the glass.
Okay.
This here, I forgot, is 63% alcohol. So that makes it over 120 proof.
That's some serious stuff.
Right? So the thing is, it's 100 proof. 1 ounce of 100 proof usually makes a standard drink. So I'm going to still do like 2 shots and just see where we are because that's real life.
Okay.
Like when you go to the clubs and stuff, you get 2 shots of rum
Yeah.
in your drink, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to use our breathalyzers and we have our timers. I know my setup is kind of strange. So I'm going to just move it over here so I can actually have a counter. So we have the 20-minute timer, right?
Okay.
So we can time after we finish drinking. And
Nice.
we have the 5-minute timer. You know what? I think we should just use the 10-minute timer to actually drink our drinks because I can't drink that drink in 5 minutes.
Okay.
And
Oh,
then we go from
all
there.
right. 10 minutes to drink the drink. All right. We're doing
All
some
right, so
serious
tell me
drinking.
what you have and what are you drinking today? What's going on with you?
All right. Well, I'll give you one guess as to what beer type I'm going to drink.
Tripel.
That's right. So I've got a Belgian style triple here from Big Spruce Brewery, which is out of Nova Scotia. They actually participated in Triple Day last year, so you can see the logo on there. And there's a beautiful beer. This is, I didn't know what to expect from them. I had had lots of their lagers and IPAs and that kind of thing, but never any of their Belgian style beers. So very impressed with this beer, and it's a big one at 10%. So you and I are both drinking the big ones tonight.
That's right. Big ones. Okay. So, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Let me move the camera over here so that I can make my drink. But don't start drinking yet because we have to drink together and time.
All right, sounds good. I'm just pouring, just getting it ready.
All right. Let me just here. Yeah. Okay, good. That's decent. I don't want to show too much of my house. Okay, hold on. All righty. So we got my glass, my shot glass, and my ginger beer. Have you ever had Jamaican ginger beer?
I
Homemade?
don't think I have. I don't think I have. No.
Really good, and it's good for you.
Yeah.
So it's just ginger, boiling it,
Okay.
crushing it, pureeing
Yeah.
it, and I add pineapples to mine. I like
Okay.
pineapples,
Yeah.
and especially the skin of the pineapple, and you let it soak overnight and everything. Then the next day you boil it again and you strain it, and basically you sweeten it by sweetening with honey.
Okay.
So it's pretty good, and it's good for you because ginger is good for you, as you know. Oh, splash. Okay. 1 second. All right.
All right. Is that a brand new bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna use some Hennessy, but I was like, I never tried Hennessy in ginger beer, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't know, waste
Yeah.
my
This one
ginger
seems.
beer on my Hennessy.
Yeah. This one seems a little more appropriate.
Exactly. All right, so that's one shot. Going for a double. And I have a hike tomorrow. God
Okay.
go with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hiking tomorrow, snowshoeing tomorrow.
Whereabouts?
Um, we're going to I'll tell you. I have to look it up.
All
I don't
right.
remember exactly where we're going. You know what? I should have shaken it instead of stirring it, but that's okay. And let me get. What did you eat today, Mike?
Today I had a bagel for breakfast. A couple slices of pizza for lunch with some vegetables and a yogurt, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, today I had. Right now, I'm going to have some olives and just some cheese and some fruit and some crackers. Today
Okay.
I had half a sweet potato, a protein
Yep.
shake, um, about 7 olives, and yogurt. So
Okay.
that's why I'm eating so light now. So let's see how the food affects everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, 10 minutes. 1 second. Cheers. Cheers,
Cheers.
buddy. Thanks for doing this for me.
Yeah, no
Really.
problem. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, let's start. So, Triple Day. Triple Day. So, International Triple Day, it celebrates that specific beer style.
Yep.
Now, what does triple represent to you beyond just the drink?
So I think for me personally, it represents brewing tradition and specifically sort of Belgian style brewing. Triple as a style came out of the monasteries in Belgium, brewed by monks. You know, it's got all this very interesting history to it. Um, so I think that's the really intriguing part for me is, as you said, it's much more than just the beer itself, which is a style that I absolutely love the flavor of. But I think any of the styles like doubles, Belgian dark strongs, which are also called quads, triples, you know, those are the beers that really have this interesting history coming out of these monasteries and still being brewed today in the same ways that they were hundreds of years ago.
Hmm. All right. Tell us, Mike, about what you started. Tell us about Triple Day. Tell us about
Sure.
it.
Back a few years ago, would have been like February 2022. I was sitting right where I am right now in my basement, which is also International Triple Day headquarters. Don't let anyone know it's just my basement, not some
Of course,
fancy office.
I'll never tell all the thousands of people who's going to watch this
that,
after.
that,
But go ahead.
that's right. Um,
Continue.
but I was sitting down here having a beer and drinking a triple specifically, and just thinking about how much I enjoyed the style and how few breweries were brewing it around Ontario and that sort of thing. And then I just started thinking, you know, I wonder if there is a day devoted to this style because I know there's a day for stouts, there's a day for lagers, there's a day for Baltic porters. So I did a little Google searching and nothing came up, and I said, all right, I think I'm going to start this thing. And obviously, if you're going to have an international day for anything, you need a date. And I just figured that March 3rd, being the third day of the third month, was the perfect date for Triple Day. So I put it together. I started telling people from here on forward, March 3rd is Triple Day, and a few people came on board, and it's just been snowball rolling ever since. So it's been a lot of fun.
I wish you I wish you all the success because I know you really love it, and I know it's from a good place.
Yes.
33 and 3. They're actually my couple of my lucky numbers. 9,
Oh, perfect.
11. Yeah, 9, 11, 33. I probably shouldn't be saying it, but those are my lucky numbers. So that's significant to me too. All right. So you talked about what inspired you. Well, did you really say? Well, you love the bear, and nobody else was doing it, so you dedicate your time to it. Um, but why did you, Mike, focus on this like Belgian beer? Like, do you have is it part of your culture, like your family lineage, or
No,
how did it
it's
happen?
so that's a good question. And I get that question a lot, people wondering why I'm so passionate about this particular style. And I'm passionate about a bunch of styles, but this style in particular has been one I've always loved. Um, it's a very complex beer. Depending on who's brewing it, you can get a lot of different flavors. Um, so for me personally, it's always been an interesting beer. And being, a big, strong beer, most beers that are, upwards of 8, 9%, they're going to be quite heavy. They're going to be a beer where you can have, maybe one with dessert or something. Triples seem to defy the rules a little bit. They're a big beer, anywhere between 7.5 and 9.5% typically, but they're still somewhat light. And meaning, you can have a couple if you're somewhere where you can indulge a little bit. And I like that element of it too. I mean, getting together with friends and having a couple of these beers and catching up is always a good time. So, just a style I've always enjoyed.
Okay, okay, hmm. Okay. So as you said before, they have
Yep.
centuries of a brewing tradition.
Yep.
So how do you balance that tradition with what you do, especially on the day? Like, how do you show it? What do you do exactly? Describe. Okay, let me rephrase that. Describe to us what happens on Triple Day.
On
Tell
Triple
us.
Day? Okay. Good question. So, and it's an important question because this is the kind of messaging I want to get out there because I think a lot of people know that I'm celebrating the triple, but like you said, they don't know how to get involved. So, I mean, I think there's two different groups that I'm sort of targeting. One is the breweries, and over the years, I've been working with lots of different breweries to put out triples on this date, and that's their means to celebrate. But for the average person, I'd say the best way to celebrate is to find a Belgian style triple, enjoy that on March 3rd, take a photo with that beer, and post it to Instagram on March 3rd with the hashtag Triple Day. Tag me, Craft Beer Days, and then that'll enter them into a number of prize draws. So it's really about two things. It's about enjoying that style of beer and taking part in sort of this global celebration where everybody's focused on one beer style for one day. But beyond that, you also have an opportunity to win some cool prizes. So that sweetens the deal a little bit.
It does, and I'm gonna join that because
All
I
right.
didn't know about it. So,
Awesome.
all right. So each triple has a story from its recipe to its brewer. Tell me or tell us about a triple with a particularly memorable backstory that resonates with you. That you've listened to that story and you're like, I love this story. This
Okay.
inspires me to drink more triple.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Uh, so I think just about. I mean, every brewery that puts out a triple is going to have a sort of unique story as to why they decided to brew that style. Um, I think the easy answers would be, focus on these historic breweries, the traditional Trappist breweries with the monks brewing the beer. But I'm going to go a little different direction for my answer, and I'm going to talk about a brewery in Ontario that brewed their first triple. So their first sort of foray into the style was for Triple Day in 2023, and that's a brewery called Muse out in Norfolk County. So this is out kind of Brantford area. So that brewery is run by a husband and wife team, and they have roots kind of in the traditional area of the Belgian triple. They're, got Belgian background, Dutch background. So these are beers that they were very familiar with, and in their brewery they specialize in Belgian style beers. So they hadn't done a triple back in 2003 or 2023 when I approached them, and they agreed to brew one at that time, and now they've been part of the celebration every year. So last year they went above and beyond in terms of what they delivered for Triple Day. I just asked that these breweries put one triple out. They did 3 different styles of a triple. So they did their traditional triple, and then they also released one that was aged on cherries called their cherry triple, and they did one that was extra hopped as well. So and that was called Triple Hop. So 3 beers from one brewery on Triple Day last year, and I think that element of them being, they're Canadians, they're based in Ontario, but having that background from the traditional territory of where you would see these beers brewed is a nice little layering of different elements to the beer. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, so you mentioned like there are different types of triples that there was a cherry triple that they made, etc. What makes a triple a triple? Like what makes it a triple? Because you're teaching me now, right? I remember the last time we did that event, it just tasted great, but I didn't really go, as deep into it.
Sure.
Right? So let me know. Tell me what makes a triple a triple.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is going to be the color of the beer, the flavors that you're getting in the beer, and also the alcohol percentage. So Belgian beers, and specifically Trappist beers or Abbey-style beers, if they're brewed outside of a monastery, they're all very clearly categorized. So you often have what is like called a Belgian ale, which is typically a blonde beer. Then you'll have a Belgian double, which is a darker beer. Belgian triple is a blonde beer, and then a Belgian quad is a dark beer. So you have these 4 offerings. 2 are dark, 2 are light. The triple is going to be the strongest light-colored offering, so the strongest sort of golden beer, right? So here we see this one's leaning a little amber. A lot of times they're a little more blonde than this. But that color, I mean, a triple should always be in that category of sort of gold to amber. There are some breweries and some Trappist breweries that do a little darker version, but typically you're going to see something that's kind of like this. Mm-hmm. The alcohol percentage is always quite high as well. So, like I said before, it usually ranges between 7.5% to 9.5%. But this one right here, you might be able to see on the can, 10% on this one. So that's very much the upper range.
For a beer.
And then I think the flavors are, so the yeast is what gives the Belgian beers their kind of complex profile with spicy notes of, clove and then fruity esters. So you're going to get things like banana, apricot, some different stone fruit. So all these things together kind of tie a beer into being a triple. But that said, there's also some adjacent beer styles that are very, very similar. So there's something called Belgian Golden Strong Ale. And so varieties of that you might be familiar with are beers like Delirium or Duvel.
Oh, yeah.
Very, 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 very similar to a triple.
Yeah.
But I think traditionally triples are a little bit maltier.
Maltier.
And just a slight bit maltier, but very, I mean, if you put some beers in front of me blindly, some are triples, some are Belgian Golden Strong Ales, I'm going to have a very difficult time telling them apart. So in the world of beer, everything is very highly classified.
Right.
It's supposed to fit neatly into a certain category, but the reality is that doesn't always happen.
True. That's true. True. Hmm. Okay. All right. Now, about the historical evolution, I don't know if you want to answer this. That's fine. If you don't, we can skip it.
All right.
Do you have any insights into the history of the evolution of triple within, like the brewery? I mean, the Belgian monastery traditions. Do you have any
Yeah.
insight?
So
Like, yeah.
I think so. I think so. I think I know a bit because I've done a bit of research on this. You know, if I'm going to promote International Triple Day, I kind of need to know these little facts.
I
So,
know. I just didn't want to put you on the spot, buddy. I didn't
no,
want to. That's why I was making it a soft question.
I appreciate that because that gave me a nice little escape route if I didn't have the answer top of mind. So, I think traditionally with this beer style, and there is some, I mean, these things weren't always recorded, right? When someone comes up with a beer style, the first person to brew a triple, who is that? I don't really know. But I do know that back, hundreds of years ago, all the beers that were being brewed in these monasteries were dark beers. So the sort of legend that I've heard is these beers would typically be classified based on how strong they were. So if you produced a lighter beer, you might have these jugs with a single X on them. A bit heavier beer, more alcohol, the jugs or the kegs or whatever is stored in with two X's on them. The strongest offering had the three X's on it, and that was called a triple.
Triple.
So
Okay. Oh man, that is rich information. Thanks for
yeah,
that, because I'll never
so
forget that. I
that's
love
kind of
that.
how it all started.
I
And
love it.
then and like I said, at that time all these beers would have been dark offerings because breweries weren't really using these lighter malts. But then in the early 1900s, well, I guess in the late 1800s, you started seeing blonde beers for the first time. So you started
Right.
seeing beers like Pilsner or Kel came out of the Czech Republic. And gained a lot of popularity, and people really started liking these lighter beers, lighter lagers, that sort of thing. So I think it was around 1935 at Westmalle, they started experimenting a little bit with their beer and decided to make their triple a lighter colored offering. So at that time, everything sort of changed.
Changing.
And from there on, it's that beer is now known as like the archetype for the style. So it was the first, and I think it was first brewed that way in around 1935. And ever since, other breweries have been brewing triples as blonde beers as well. But there are some holdouts. Like I'm looking across my basement right now
Yes.
at a little tin sign for Zundert, which is a Trappist brewery, and they've got a fairly dark colored triple. So, like I said before, I mean, in most cases you have these very, very light blonde beers, but in some cases they're still a little darker as well. So, in a nutshell, there's the history of how triple came to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's fascinating, man. It's so good to learn these things, like everything has a story. It's the stories. I love the stories.
Yeah,
Have you
absolutely.
been to Belgium?
I have.
Tell me.
So,
Tell me
if
all
you
about
asked
it
me
because
this
I want to
question
go. I
last
plan
year,
to go.
it's
2025. Let it happen.
oh,
Okay, continue.
absolutely. I can't recommend it enough. So I went for the first time this past year. So I think it was, yeah, it would have been May. I was there and actually took part in a tour of Trappist breweries, um, and got to go to all of these great places over 10 days. Because it was part of a tour, all of the transportation was arranged and you could indulge as much as you wanted to. And that was a real sort of draw for me is,
Yes.
it's always nice to go and create your own schedule. But when you're doing beer tourism and you know that you're going to be indulging in these things, transportation can become a very expensive thing and a very tricky thing as well,
Yeah.
right? So the main concern is, we know we're going to be going and drinking these higher alcohol beers. Let's take the sort of transportation element out of the question, leave it up to someone else, and I think that was a wise move on our part.
Yeah. That's yeah. I, the chocolate. Okay, I won't say chocolate. Tell me what the best pairing is, or what do you love to pair with your triple beer? That was an accidental rhyme, but it works. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so Yeah. So poetry lessons with Julia.
It's the rum, man. It's the rum.
So
It started. Continue. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
I think with any Belgian beer, cheese is going to be a great offering. So triples are a little tougher. I think it's, excuse me. I think it's always a little more difficult to pair with lighter beers than it is with darker beers. I think there are oftentimes more options for darker beers when it comes to meals and that sort of thing. If if I'm looking at pairing a meal with a Belgian style triple, I'm probably looking at like poultry of some kind. It's going to blend really well with kind of the herbal nature of stuffing, let's say. So triple is one of those beers that with your Christmas dinner, your Thanksgiving turkey dinner, bière de garde and triples, those are kind of the go-tos for a turkey dinner. But then beyond that, for a little snack, I think, some lighter colored cheese can be really good with triple as well. But it's one of those personal things as well. Like,
it's just personal. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you try it out.
Because I would just
what works.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you gave me, you actually made me try my first triple.
Oh, did I? Okay.
And I noticed the smell first.
Okay.
But what do I know? So what is it that someone should notice first? Is it the smell, or is it the finish? Is it the flavor? When someone really enjoys or experiences a triple, what do you think, or in your experience, what do you think they should be the first thing? Is it the smell, or is it the finish? Is it the...
So it's a good question, and again, it's really up to sort of whatever. People are all going to have different experiences, and I don't think there's necessarily a way it should be enjoyed. But I think just based on human nature, the first thing you're going to notice when you're drinking or eating anything is the appearance, right? And with the triple, like I said, it's going to be a lighter colored beer. But another thing that's very characteristic of Belgian style beers is how carbonated they are. So typically these are beers that before they're bottled, they're going to be what's called bottle conditioned. So they're going to put in a little extra yeast, and that's going to allow the beer to continue to develop. And as the sugars in the beer continue to be consumed by that yeast, it's going to continue outputting carbon dioxide, which means you're going to get a very sort of effervescent, carbonated beer. So I think when you pour a triple, you're likely to see a nice sort of white foamy head, which is going to be the first thing your sort of sensory intakes, right? But then from there, I think, like you said, the aroma. And I think a lot of beer people, like it just by drinking so many beers, the first thing they do when they're about to take a sip is they just kind of run past their nose, right?
Exactly. And I noticed that first. But then but you see, because of the fact that I know how much I don't know, I'm not too sure if that was right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there is no right. Like I've heard people say, this is the way you pour a beer. This is the way you smell a beer. Who cares? Like none of those rules apply.
Listen, my dad cares. Listen, my dad tells me all the time, a red stripe or a beer tastes different in the can and the bottle than in a glass.
Oh, absolutely.
And how you pour his beer, listen, I don't want to get him in trouble. Like our friend
Well, that part I agree with. And I will tell you, I had an interesting little experience in Belgium, because for me it's all it's like this beautiful ritual when I'm having a beer, right? It's pouring it into the glass, making sure I have the proper glassware. Like I get really nerdy about this stuff because I enjoy it.
I'm like that with wine, but
So it's a process to me. But I mean, regardless of what you're used to doing and what you like doing, you can drink it any way you want. So back when I was in Belgium, one of the first nights I was there, my wife actually got food poisoning and was not feeling so well and had to sort of stick it out in the hotel. But she said to me, she's like, I know we've been waiting for this trip for a long time. I don't want you to miss out on your opportunity to kind of experience the first community we were visiting, which was a place called Ghent. And she's like, go out, you know, walk around, explore, I'll be fine. Just go out and do
That's
your
Sarah
thing.
for you. She's so
That's
awesome.
Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah, God,
So,
she's awesome. Anyway,
so,
yeah.
so I went out, and it's such a strange thing because you can get all these beautiful beers at a corner store, at a gas station. Anywhere you go in Belgium, you can buy these beers. And over here, you know, they might be anywhere from $5 to sort of $10 a bottle. And over there, they're €1 or €2. Like, they're very inexpensive. And I remember buying a few triples that I'd never had, and then going down to the river and sitting there and thinking, I don't have a glass to drink these out of. I've got to drink them out of the bottle. And that's something I'd never done with this style. But
That's funny.
And your father would, if he's a drink it out of the glass guy, he would have been very upset with me.
Listen, I know how to pour a perfect beer since I was probably 7.
Oh yeah.
That's my dad. But okay, what do you see them doing in Europe or in Belgium?
Yeah.
Because I was talking to our friend Black Bear Lover. He's there right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Merkaba Teko Hayes. So, what do you see them doing to ensure safety? Like, you know, like safety with alcohol, safe alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it is culture. For instance,
yeah.
Where I grew up, right?
Yeah.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
You could send a child to the shop to buy beer. Doesn't matter. Right. Because they know they're not going to drink it. Right? So we didn't see alcohol as this rebellion, like, oh, you know, prom, we have to go crazy and drink, because it was always around us. So we didn't see it as a thing, right? Yeah. Not saying that there aren't people with problems, of course there are. And of course, like, I lost, you know, friends and associates to inebriated driving just because there is just, it's a long story. It's just, you know, systems and stuff, right? But what do you see? Do you think it's a culture thing, whereas they are just more responsible with drinking because they have all the access, right? They start drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah,
so
I think.
What do you think? What do you see? What's the difference between there and here?
I do think what you've just outlined is a very important element to it. I think that when it's part of the culture and it's, you know, it's always been something that's available and people tend to try it from a younger age, or they're maybe allowed to have a drink in their own household. There's not that sort of rebellion that comes out when it's like, okay, I've hit drinking age, I can go out and party now. There's already a familiarity with alcohol and with the responsibilities that come along with it. So I think that's probably the main factor. But beyond that, and this is where I'm going to sort of put my professional lens on as an urban planner, I'm going to say there's a huge difference in the nature of communities there. And you look at, I mean, most of these towns in Belgium were built hundreds of years ago. There was only a couple of ways to get around, right? By your feet, by horse, by bicycle maybe. And to this day, like, bicycling is probably, or cycling is probably a far more utilized mode of transportation than driving cars.
I heard that.
It's remarkable. Like, the first time when we visited Belgium and we got out of the train station, there was a parking lot adjacent to the train station, but it wasn't a parking lot for cars. It was a parking lot for bikes.
For bikes, yeah.
And
I've seen that. I know. The first time I saw it, I was like, the hell?
Yeah, it was remarkable. And there had to have been not thousands of bikes, tens of thousands of bicycles in there. And the fact that, so these, I mean, number one, these people they're walking, they're taking their bikes places. Yeah. But beyond that, I think the way that these communities have developed is such that everything you need is within a couple blocks, which is very, very different to what we see in Canada. Where, you know, you have to, if you live in the suburbs, which I do, you have to own a car if you want to live a regular life. You want to be able to get to the grocery store. You want to be able to go to restaurants. You want to be able to do all the things you enjoy.
And you want
need a car.
peace of mind where you live. So you live in the. I know, believe me. Yeah.
So it's a far different environment, and I think that really does play into it as well. And it's I mean, I could go on forever about the differences, because there was one really interesting thing I saw there as well, which was public urinals just in the middle of the street. So right in the middle of the sidewalk, they would have these urinals, which if you look down on them on an aerial view, it's kind of like a cross profile where there's 4 different urinals. So people can go in, they can do what they need to do as they're leaving the bar, whatever. That is something you would never see in Canada or the United States.
Yeah.
But there it's just kind of like part of the culture. And the reality is, when people are leaving the bar in Canada, they're still going to have the same physical needs as the people in Belgium. They just have to find a dark corner somewhere, right? Where in Belgium, they say, yeah, we know this is going to happen. Let's find a solution.
So I guess the people who work in the bars there must be much happier than the ones that work in the bars here.
Possibly. Probably. And I think, I think that there is that. Like, here I know I've watched some really astute sort of brewery owners in Canada, and it always blows me away, kind of their ability to serve people, but also keep an eye on, how much people are drinking, if they've driven there, all that kind of thing. And that's a lot of responsibility for them.
It is. Listen, when I first moved to Canada, before I went to Humber for post-grad, I worked at Moxie's and I worked at the Keg. So I know what you're talking about. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And you have to always be aware.
Yeah.
Always be aware.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you care, right?
Yeah.
So I know my brother, he was the one who he managed Einstein's for a long time. Remember Einstein? I don't know if it's still there in Toronto, University of Toronto. Engineering students always used to go there, right on Spadina, and is it Spadina and Bloor?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, Spadina and Bloor. Yeah. So so I used to go there, and the service industry, they really work hard.
Oh, absolutely. And there's even a difference between Toronto and I'm out just east of the city in Pickering. And if you're going out for a beer here, you're probably going to drive. So you really need to be careful about how many beers you're going to have. Drinking a Belgian triple, probably not your best option because it is such a high alcohol beer.
Yeah.
But going to Toronto, you've got, if I'm going in there, I'm typically taking the GO train down. I'm either taking an Uber or taking TTC between different stops.
Yeah.
So a lot more options and a lot easier to be responsible.
Still test though, because anything can still happen to you. Even if you take TTC, if you listen, do you know how many drunk people I have to dodge this holiday who are walking on the road? Like, I was wondering, is this on purpose? Or are you trying to commit? Like, why are you just walking and they're drunk? So, and they can still have injury on the TTC, etc. So, it's still important to test.
Absolutely.
All right. So, the breweries.
Yep.
How can they get in touch with you to participate? Tell us. I'm going to get a chair because I don't like to stand and eat.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to get my bar stool. But I'm still here listening to you. How can breweries...
So I think breweries can do one of two things. They can go to the Triple Day website, which is at tripleday.com.
Yes.
And there's a little form they can fill out to receive more information, so they can do that. The other thing is just contact me directly, craftbeerdays@gmail.com. And for this year, I've got a pretty solid lineup of breweries that are participating for Triple Day 2025. But to hit my target, I might be looking for a couple more. So if there are other breweries out there that want to get involved, there's still time.
Do you know somebody saw that thing that you when we did that event, that designated driver, and they said yes. They said to me, where did you get that? We need more of those. Are you selling them?
No,
and I had like
I'm not selling them, but
no, they asked me. I had
oh,
like two
okay.
of them.
All right.
They're like, "Are you selling those?" I said, "No, I'm not selling them. You can have it." But they asked where I got it from, and I told them.
Okay, good.
But those are a hit. Those are a hit.
They were very important to me because when I was the whole reason I got on Instagram and started doing this stuff is because I was hosting these local beer events, these craft beer days.
Still listening to you. I'm just getting some more food.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
No problem. So these events were events where people were encouraged to go brewery to brewery, have a beer at each, and then get stamps for the number of breweries they visited and get prizes, all kinds of fun stuff. But in doing that, so the two places I had these events were Kingston and Durham. And my first one was in Durham, and some of these breweries were spaced out, an hour drive from one another. So I really had to be careful about what I was promoting, ensuring that people were doing this with designated drivers, finding a way to ensure that people weren't going to go have a beer at each brewery and drive themselves to the next one. Right. So the way that I did that was trying to find some incentives for people that were going to come into this as a designated driver. So these bracelets, which say on one side it says hashtag designated driver, on the other side it's just got the Craft Beer Days logo. That would allow people to be identified as a designated driver, which at many breweries would get them free non-alcoholic drinks, like if they wanted a can of Coke or something like that, they could have it. But it also entered them into a draw for a number of prizes. So it was something that right from the outset, I figured I needed to do my part to ensure that people were going to participate responsibly. So that was the idea I kind of ran with on that one.
I love that. Okay, so how else do you promote, or how else does Triple Day promote safe driving?
Well, I think really it comes down to the principle of what Triple Day is about. And Triple Day isn't about, going out and drinking 100 beers. It's about sitting down and really, savoring, really enjoying. And the experience of drinking the beer, kind of sitting back, thinking about it, that sort of thing. So I think the whole nature of what it's about respecting the style. It's about appreciating the style. It's not about overindulging.
Okay.
And
so I gotta do some housekeeping here.
Sure.
Where are you on your drink? Because I'm done. I've been done for the past 5 minutes.
I can be done in the next 15
That's okay.
seconds.
It's a good experiment. So don't rush. Just drink as much as, bottoms up. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So with that, let's start the 30 minutes timer.
Okay.
Because we could go on forever. So, all right. Now for my business now.
Yeah.
Mike, I've asked different people and different, people in the industry and brewers, and I get such good responses that they actually stimulate ideas for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, integrating breathalyzers like ours, right, into events like, say, yours.
Yeah. How
do you think we can shift the narrative around alcohol consumption from stigma to empowerment, like when it comes on to using the breathalyzers? Because this is my thing. This is what I noticed when I first came into the industry, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the older people, not the younger people, thankfully, a lot of the older people over 60, they see breathalyzers as, oh no, I would never need one of those. Really? Okay. You go to Lodge, you go to Rotary, and you're drunk as a skunk driving home.
Yeah.
Your husband needs it. You need it for after bingo. Really.
Yeah.
So it's like they see it as a punishment, because of the fact that it was introduced in society as a punishment. It was introduced like, okay, you have a DUI, you got a third one. We can't trust you with your car. You need to have a breathalyzer in your car, right? Yeah. So it was introduced to society as a punishment. I am trying to change that to say, no, it's a tool. It's just like a speedometer in your car, right? The fact of the matter, and then there's some people that say to me, well, you shouldn't be encouraging people to drink and drive. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right.
But it's just the fact that it still happens. And guess what? Bars have parking lots. Stadiums have parking lots. Football stadiums have a parking lot. Hockey stadiums have parking lots. And there, you know, the beer culture there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Restaurants have parking lots. Now movie theaters have beer and have alcohol. Right? So instead of everything always being on the owner, as an owner myself, I said, you know what, we need to put some of this responsibility and empowerment, which is what it is, in the people who are actually drinking.
Right.
Like they need to actually take that responsibility to say, you know what, let me see where I am. Okay, I had a beer 3 hours ago. Let me still check to see where I am, because I may not have been hydrated. I may have, you know, and you know what? Over 65% of designated drivers, they all admit to having at least one beer at an event that lasts probably 2 hours. Because, you know, I ask questions.
Yeah.
So every event, all those events that I did, it was gathering information. There was an extra added benefit without saying too much. I know I'm I'm feeling nice, but without saying too much, it was an added benefit for me to get to talk to people and ask them those questions.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And get some information from real life people who just wanted to talk, right?
Yeah.
So it's just me, and you know, people are catching on, and people are stuff. You know, people are catching on, and people are seeing what I'm saying, and and actually, this isn't me, because actually people had this thought before. So you find people like even yourself that are great supporters, and Sarah.
Yeah.
But what can we do? Like, what do you see? Like, what do you see when you talk to people? What do you see the stigma still is? Because now, even in France, 2 years ago, if you don't have a breathalyzer in your car, you can get a ticket. And when they did that, I thought it was like, but North America hasn't caught up yet. So I know it's a long-winded question.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, I think that I think that obviously the work that you're doing is very important, because prior to meeting you, to be completely honest, I didn't know this was an option. I didn't know that there were such things as these single-use breathalyzers. You know, I had heard about instances where people had driven under the influence in the past, and then they had something installed in their car where they had to kind of breathe into. That was
interlocks.
Yeah. That was all I knew about breathalyzers. Then obviously like the police administering them at traffic stops and that sort of thing. I didn't know that there were options to have something on hand that you could, you know, use for yourself. So I think the work that you're doing is incredibly important. And I think that obviously the insights that you have are far better than anything that I'm going to be able to talk about. Like your reference to France and that situation there, I hadn't even heard about that.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult thing, because obviously this is an important subject matter, and obviously it needs more attention. But like you said, I think there are some people that are just set in their ways, and they're reluctant to even consider something like this. And I think the only way that that changes over time is with constant sort of exposure to it, right? So the more places that these are available, the more breweries that kind of sign on to have these programs where they're encouraging people to use them, I think it grows over time. And obviously you would know best, but it's not something that changes overnight.
Yeah.
I think it's an entire culture shift that needs to happen, and unfortunately that does take time.
I know.
But I think all the steps that you've been taking are great. And
Thanks,
you know, Sarah and I have been big fans of the work that you're doing.
Sarah, that's my girl, man.
Sarah's your girl, yeah. But we love what you're doing, and I'm glad.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Because even, you know, like even when you entertain guests, and I'm gonna post it one day. A friend of mine, she's now a friend. She lost her father-in-law, who was like a father to her, to somebody, you know, drunk driving, and she was pregnant, and the baby came out looking exactly like him. So anyhow, she had an event, and she had all the breathalyzers in a basket, like I told her.
Yeah.
In our house, right? And she
Yeah.
basically took everybody's keys in the basket and then gave everybody a breathalyzer afterwards. And they didn't get back their keys until she saw what the breathalyzer
Yeah.
actually held, right? So she took some pictures and gave to me, but I have to edit it because I see some people's faces in it. I don't want to put people's faces in it. So, but
And that's
she did her best for me. She didn't understand social media, right?
and that's
Yeah.
kind of what you, in a way, like the outcome and her response is a very important thing. But what we don't want is a scenario that people only take this seriously once they experience tragedy themselves, right? We need to get ahead of that. And that is why the work that you're doing is so important, because it gives people an opportunity to kind of understand the subject matter and understand their responsibilities before they have to deal with something that unfortunate.
Exactly.
And then respond at
Exactly.
that time.
And not only that, but understand their own bodies too. Like
Yeah.
I'm a big listen, understand yourself, right?
Yeah.
Know yourself. Like know that okay, I didn't drink a lot of water this week. Usually if I drink a 6-ounce glass of wine in the space of 4 hours, I'll be okay to drive. But let me test anyway and see.
Yeah.
Because I know that I didn't get as much rest this week, or I didn't get as much, I wasn't hydrated, or I didn't eat that much today.
Right.
Right? So people, you still need to test and gauge and in your mood. There's so many variables, right? So, okay, let me ask you this. Now, if you could create your dream modern interpretation of a triple, what would it look like, and what ingredients would you experiment with?
Oh,
And I know you're
that
not
is
a brewer, that's
that
fine,
is, yeah,
but
that is
just
such a tough
you've had enough
question.
experience.
It's a great question. It's a tough question because I think for me, in all things, I think simplicity is best. So it kind of, when I'm looking at architecture, for example, you see certain things come and go in terms of styles and materials and that sort of thing. But the things that endure over time are always the very simplistic things. So I would say, for the ideal Belgian triple, it's going to be a very basic beer. It's just going to be, your typical ingredients. You're going to have good quality water. You're going to have Belgian yeast. You're going to have the sort of traditional hops that they use. And then you're going to have malts, which typically for a triple, it's going to be mainly barley malt, but there's going to be some wheat malt as well. Yeah. Some breweries do some oats as well, which can sort of thicken the body and make it great. But I think that's what I'm going for on one hand. But then on the other hand, I want people to have fun with brewing too, right? So every once in a while we get a local brewery that decides to change things up, and one beer, there's a brewery called Bob Cajun Brewing out in Peterborough, and they brewed a triple a few years ago with lavender. It might have been lavender and elderberry. Yeah. So a flavor that's not typical to beer, but it's one I really enjoy in beer, and I think a lot of people enjoy in beer. And that was a fantastic beer. And yeah. I have to fend Sarah off from the fridge because she wants to drink all of that all the time, and I'm like, no, we need to keep a couple bottles of that. I want to see how it does over time.
I need to try it.
But she loves it.
I'm sure I like it too.
But so I mean, that's not a very good answer to your question.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, but I think I love it all. I mean, I love to try everything there is out there.
That's a good answer. Lavender, listen, you know what's funny about lavender? Okay, first of all, I went to Lavender Fields the other day. And there's this winery that is just, they have French lavender and just, regular English lavender. They make wine, they have lavender wine, right? Ice wine. Yeah. And they have lavender cookies, everything. Oh my gosh, the place is just, it's the vibration. It's insane. Anyhow, what I learned about lavender, because I said, oh, I love lavender. She said to me, if you are exposed to too much lavender, it will actually keep you up. Because she said to me, what do you love about lavender? So I said, I love it when I take my salt baths and I, you know, like
Yeah.
it makes me relax, and you know, incense and everything. And she said to me, okay, that's good, but have you ever had it where, you know, you were so stimulated that you couldn't sleep and you thought that you needed more lavender? And I said, yes.
Oh, wow.
And she
Okay.
said to me, it's the lavender. I said, really? I said, I thought lavender would put you to sleep because it calms, it makes me, you know, just relax and just ready to just drift off.
Yeah.
And she says, yes, but if you overdo it, like if you put too much, it's actually a stimulant.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So,
do you see what I mean by talking to people?
yeah. And Sarah's had trouble sleeping recently. I think she's probably broken into my stash of beers.
I'm not going there with you. I'm on Team Sarah.
Oh, I know.
I'm sorry.
I know. Most people are.
All right, let's see. Good question. Well, you decide it's a good question. Have you witnessed International Triple Day bring together unlikely groups? Well, I guess I would be an unlikely group. Or foster deeper community connections. What have you seen that you're like, oh, like this is great, you know?
Well, I think for me personally,
I'm listening to you. I'm just gonna get some more stuff.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's just seeing everybody get involved and kind of post their photos, and some people that don't typically drink Belgian style beers kind of wanting to take part in something bigger and something that is a community. And for me, that's always been the draw to craft beer. Is I love to support local. I love kind of supporting small business and that sort of thing. And so the ability to get some of these smaller breweries involved in Triple Day has been really cool as well, because it's been, I think, a nice way to create a wider lens in terms of people that have their eyes on that brewery. So this year is going to be really interesting, because in the past, like in 2023, that was the first year breweries were brewing a triple for the event, and it was 5 Ontario breweries. Last year it was 15 breweries, but all of them were Canadian other than one. This year it's truly going to be an international affair. So there's going to be some pretty major breweries involved, from Canada, from the United States, from Belgium. And at the same time, there's going to be some very small breweries from Ontario. So I think that's going to be really cool, is to get the kind of international eyes on Triple Day, and some of these smaller breweries really benefiting from that increased exposure. And just for me personally, I love connecting with the breweries. I love trying to make my way out to as many as I possibly can, and taste their beer sort of at the source and talk with the brewers and the owners and that sort of thing. And for me personally, that's always the huge benefit to doing this, is creating those connections.
Yeah. Same. So let me ask you this. Let's just say Lotto Max right now is $70 million. Let's just say.
Okay.
Let's just say you won it.
Yep.
Would you open your own brewery? What would Mike do? Like, would you just go on a triple binge all over the world? What would you do? Tell me. Good
question. I don't think I'd open my own brewery, and there are a few reasons for that. Number one is I'm not a brewer myself. I have the passion for drinking the beers and trying the beers. I don't have the passion for actually making them. So I think that needs to be left to the people that truly are, deeply inspired to do that as their work.
Agreed.
That being said, I mean, my dream would be to open some kind of like a beer bar that offered, all the greatest sort of traditional style beers from around the world, as well as featuring local beers. That would be amazing, and that's probably something that I would do. Finding a nice spot in a little historical building somewhere in some village or some downtown, I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'd also love to travel and see all the places I haven't seen yet, try all the beers I haven't tried yet. That Belgian trip was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and a little scary too, because it's really opened my eyes to everything out there. And I think I need to start saving up money to make more trips like that in the future, because that is something I really enjoy.
Do it.
Yeah.
One life, do it. All right. Are there lessons from other countries and their signature beers, their signature beer styles that you
Yeah.
feel like the Tripel community could learn from to basically expand or stay more relevant, or do you think that Tripel will always be niche?
Oh, that's a really, really tough
It's a
question.
Julia
That's a good
question.
question. But no, I love it. I
I
love
asked
these
a
questions.
question.
I
Go
love
ahead.
these questions because these questions are so much deeper than just, the typical, what is this or how is that? It's, so I did notice something very interesting in Belgium that I didn't expect to see. And that was this fascination with American style beers at the
Really?
smaller breweries. Yes. And so these are like big IPAs, super hopped. It was really, really common to see. And here I was thinking, I'm traveling to one of the sort of beer capitals of the world. I mean,
Exactly.
this is a place where beer culture has actually been designated
Right.
as like a UNESCO heritage event sort of thing. Like the beer culture in Belgium is actually an internationally recognized heritage element of their culture. So I was expecting to go there and everyone to brew these traditional Belgian style beers, and yes, obviously the bigger breweries and the monasteries were all doing that, but the smaller breweries were doing a lot of newer age things. They were importing hops from like the west coast of the States, and it hit me by surprise. Now, I do get it because I think anywhere you go, there's going to be this sort of counterculture where you go against tradition and you kind of do what's new
Or you
and
cater to
cool.
the tourists. Cater to the tourists.
Maybe cater to the tourists, but maybe also just explore things. Like I think what made me so fascinated with Belgian beer is that it wasn't traditional to hear. It seemed foreign. It seemed different. It seemed interesting. Now, if I grew up with Belgian beer around me constantly, I can understand why certain brewers are seeing American beer styles as foreign and interesting and more cutting edge, right? So you get
Yeah.
this strange blend. But I think overall it is, as I said before, I'm a big fan of tradition. I'm a big fan of simplicity. I think those things are important things, and there will always be moments and sort of lulls in the excitement with those things, but those things remain relatively steady and they hold true over time. So some of these Belgian style beers have been brewed for hundreds of years. And if there's dips, personally, what I think is important is don't panic over that slight dip and start doing different things.
Yeah.
It's just wait it out. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with experimenting with different things to try to fill that void, but don't change up everything because this is a beautiful style. There is a lot of beautiful beers with a lot of beautiful tradition behind them, and I'd hate to see those things disappear just because of a momentary lull in sales or anything like that. I don't know if that answered the
You
question, but I
more
know I talked a
than
heck of
answer.
a
You
lot
know
there.
what? You answered that question and you answered 5 other questions.
All right,
That was
good.
awesome. Thank you very much. You're always so, you know, and that's what I appreciate about both of you. You guys are just always so generous with your energy and generous with what you know. You know,
Well,
it's
we
always
feel
a
the same
pleasure
way
to talk
about
to you.
you.
It's you guys are awesome, man. So all right. You know you hear about aliens. Woo-wee. So you hear about the aliens coming, right? Pretend I'm an alien. Um, and you want to tell me about Tripel. You have to sum up the whole essence of Tripel in one word. What would it be and why? Okay, I'm not an alien. But
That's that's a
let's
very,
just
very
pretend
good question.
okay, I'm human. Let's just pretend I've never
No,
had it.
I like the
All
alien.
right,
I
I'm
like
an
the
alien.
alien approach. It adds a different level of complexity to the answer. But I'm gonna tell them I'm going to say strong. And the reason I'm gonna say strong is I know they're gonna have to get into their spaceship and fly back to another galaxy, and I need them to do that safely. So they need to know that triple is a very strong style of beer. And I'm probably going to give them a little breathalyzer as well and encourage them to take it before they get in their spaceship.
I love it. I love it. All right. So listen, 20 minutes have passed.
All right.
So wait, let me just ask you one more question before.
Sure.
All right. What legacy? You've worked so hard. You've got this all together. You've gotten different communities together. You've created this masterpiece. What legacy do you hope International Triple Day will leave behind for the future generation of beer lovers?
Another great question. I think personally, if this thing continues to move and continues to happen, the most important thing for me is that it continues to inspire people to try the style. So if every year a couple new people decide to drink a triple because they hear about International Triple Day and they know that this is a celebration of style and it's something they've never tried before, that's all the payoff I'm looking for, is just getting people to try it. Some people don't enjoy it. I recognize that. Other people absolutely love it. But you never know what you're missing until you try it. So that's the biggest thing, just getting people to try the style.
Yeah. And you know what? And you opened up a whole new world for me when you
got
me to try it. So I appreciate you for that. All enlightenment. I love it. Right?
Awesome.
All right. So let's do it. 20 minutes after our last break. About 25. So as I said before yesterday when I was with my buddy Black Bear Lover.
Yeah.
The reason why you have to push hard is because there's a foil seal here protecting the crystals, right?
All right.
So you push in. Hear that?
Yeah.
Good. You blow for 10 seconds and then blow for another 10 seconds. So ready? Let's go.
Hang on. Okay.
All
right. I'm ready. Yeah.
That's 10. Okay, another 10. Another 10. You're turning red there, buddy.
I know. I was giving it my all.
Listen, I must be worried though. So, okay, so after 4 minutes, the crystals will start to change. I'm starting to feel mine heat up already.
Okay.
Are you feeling
your it should be stored while you're waiting on it? Should it be stored sideways? Should it be stored sideways or
doesn't
on
matter.
its end?
It doesn't matter where it's stored. Yeah. Just wait. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on incorporating breathalyzers into social drinking settings? Well, you already said you're for it already.
I'm all for it. Yeah, absolutely. I think the more people doing this, the better. And I don't think it's a sort of fail-safe. I mean, I don't recommend as people rely on this entirely, but I think it's a great way to get a better understanding of how your body reacts.
Agreed. Okay. What are your aspirations, Mike, for the future of International Triple Day?
My future aspirations are, I think so when I started this, I said 2033 is going to be a big year. It's going to be the third day of the third month of the 33rd year of the century. And I would love to be in Belgium on that date at one of the Trappist breweries, drinking a triple with them celebrating. So if that can happen, I've done my job. But beyond that, I think, just keep running with this thing, keep getting people to try the style, keep getting breweries involved, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So that's the important thing to me.
That's good. But let me ask you this. The triple style.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there's enough education in North America about it? Or do you feel now that you've started the International Triple Day that you're starting to see more enthusiasts and soon it will catch on more or be less niche and more, popular? Yeah. What do you think about it?
I think it'll always be somewhat niche, because I think that with this style of beer, from a brewing perspective, it's going to take a different strain of yeast, which a lot of breweries aren't experienced with. So you typically see breweries are either, Belgian style breweries, or they're not Belgian style breweries. There's some that cross over, but not many. So for me personally, I think that, if I can keep encouraging people to try the style, that's all I can really ask for. I know that there's going to be a limited number of breweries that brew these beers in the future, but I also think that's kind of a good thing, because keeping something niche means that it's going to be exciting for somebody, because it's going to be a little bit different. And I know that often attracts me to things, that attracts me to beer styles, that attracts me to music styles. If they're a little bit different, I want to go and explore them for myself. So as much as I want to see it, everybody drinking triples, I also think it being niche is part of its allure.
A part of it's, I think so too. I think so too. Okay, so with everything that we try to of substance to create,
yeah,
there are always challenges.
Yeah.
Always. If it's okay for you to share, what challenges have you encountered in promoting International Triple Day, and how have you addressed them? I'm still here, I'm listening.
Another good question. I think the most obvious one that stands out to me is, especially when I'm dealing with international breweries, is, why are you doing this? And what's in it for you, and why should we be involved? I think that it was a very strange thing going to Belgium and explaining International Triple Day to Belgian breweries, saying, this is a Belgian style of beer. Why is a Canadian leading the charge to kind of make this celebration, right? And I personally don't have, I'm not a brewery. I'm not an international beer writer or anything like that. So the big challenge for me is always getting over that initial hump of convincing someone that this is something interesting that they should pursue. And in some cases, I'm still not over that hump. There are a few breweries that I reached out to that I would have really loved to participate that haven't responded or haven't shown an interest. But there are others that have. And in some cases, some of the biggest brewers of the style in the world have expressed an interest. So that's an extremely rewarding thing for me, is to know that these breweries have bought in. And it just, for me personally, I always like a challenge. And I like the idea of knowing that there are some holdouts still. And that's just next year's challenge then. I'll approach them and work again. There's no way I'm giving up on this thing. So I'll just keep pushing forward and
see, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Keep, because you never know. And see, even when I go through certain things, one thing I tell myself is, Julia, you might be like 1 foot from gold.
Yeah.
And you have traveled so long.
Yeah.
And then you meet people like yourself that make the journey easier and better and more inspiring.
Yeah.
So sometimes the how isn't our business, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of times it's just a matter of focusing on the what and following the breadcrumbs and just being true to people and being true to your alignment, and things work out. Things work out.
And
it's working out
admire you. I admire you and the work you do for kind of constantly getting out there. And, I've run into you at beer festivals, other types of events. And I know that this is a passion of yours.
Yeah.
You couldn't do what you're doing if it wasn't a passion of yours. And I love seeing you out there. I love seeing you kind of educate people on this topic.
Thank you.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you're never going to be rewarded for the work you do unless you put yourself out there, unless you do some uncomfortable things, unless you take advantage of those opportunities that are presented to you. So
100%. 100%. And just keep true on the journey. I'm about a 0.03.
Okay. Yeah, mine's...
What's yours? Okay, yours is still clear. Yeah, because listen, I had 2 shots off, and probably because you had so much food,
Yeah.
and you're taller, you're muscular. You had a standard drink, basically, right?
I had, yeah, I had. I mean, it was a higher alcohol beer,
Right.
but I've been drinking water all day. I've been very active. I got a good night's sleep. I
Right.
drank. I ate a lot of food for lunch not too long ago. So yeah, I think in terms of having my body prepared for this, I was in a pretty good place.
Me too. Me too. I don't know how well I'm gonna do on my hike tomorrow. Oh, I'm gonna tell you where we're gonna go. Hold on. Okay. Last two questions.
Okay.
Do you have a personal favorite triple beer or brewery that you hold in high regard that you're like, oh, I love these people?
To tell you the truth, I love them all for different reasons. That's the political answer. But the reality, I think, is Westmount Triple was the one that started it all. So that's a very special one to me. And I will always enjoy that beer. I have always enjoyed that beer. And if you had to break it down and say that's the only trip, you can only drink one triple for the rest of your life, I think I have to choose that one just because
Which one?
It's the original.
What's it called?
Westmalt.
Westmalt.
Yes.
Hold on. West Malt or West Mall?
West Mall. So WESTMALLE.
Where do you get that, Mike?
You can get it at lots of LCBOs.
Really?
So I
need to look back. I need to look in the LCBO.
Yeah, that's a good one for you to try. I want you to try that one.
Ask question. What advice would you offer to someone new to Belgian triples who is eager to explore the beer style?
I would say just approach it with an open mind. I think that if your background is kind of drinking either the most popular beers in the world, which are traditionally lagers and very easy drinking light beers, or if you're somebody that drinks IPAs that are super hopped and hazy and that sort of thing, this is going to be a bit of a divergence from what you're used to. So I would say just give it time. Like anything, I don't think you can make a judgment based on, trying something once. I'd say give it time, let it warm up. Let it warm up physically in terms of drink the beer warmer because it is a higher alcohol beer that's complex. But also let it warm up in terms of give yourself time to kind of understand the beer and have few exposures to it before you make any opinions.
Great. Listen, Mike, thanks so much for your support and
Thank
for
you.
coming on. I really appreciate it. And I look
Been a
forward
lot
to
of fun.
supporting you too. One last question.
Okay.
What are you watching right now?
What am I watching right now?
What series? Because Black Bear Lover last night told me Squid Game.
Oh,
He was on. But then after I said, wait a second, did he say Squid Game kept him up? And I said, but Squid Game was so long ago. There's a season 2.
I heard.
So I'm going to binge that before the new year.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? He's there, right? What are you watching now?
Oh, so that's a tough one because I don't watch too many series or movies or anything like that. But one that I did watch over the holidays was, I can't even tell you the name, but it's on Netflix and it stars Ray Romano and Lisa Kudrow. I think that's her name, Phoebe from Friends.
Phoebe,
yeah, and it's for both of them. It's very much a departure from their traditional roles. It's a series that has 7 or 8 episodes. Each of them is about half an hour to 45 minutes. Very intriguing. An end that is very unexpected. So it's that's one of those ones that you can kind of binge in a night or two. So if that's your thing, kind of sitting back, enjoying a beer, and getting into some Netflix, I think that's a good series to try out.
I'll check. To be honest, I don't watch too many. I don't have time to watch too many programs, but sometimes it's good to have a good binge. Bracebridge. We're going to Bracebridge tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Okay, that'll be beautiful.
Pardon?
I said that'll be beautiful. Hopefully the weather's decent. Hopefully they've had a lot of snow up that way, so hopefully this rain we got today isn't hitting them.
We have to carry our snowshoes and everything.
Okay.
But 2 other fans, I wanted to highlight my 2 other. I don't know if are you into Jamaican dancehall, like dancehall music?
I haven't listened to a lot, but I have listened to a fair amount of ska in the past, which had some sort of reggae influences. So I don't know
You
much,
know who? Okay, you
but
know
I'd
who
be
Mr.
open to it.
Vegas is. You know who Sean Paul is.
I do, yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So yeah, so I just wanted to highlight my two friends' channel, Emotep
Okay.
University TV as well as Rick Storm TV.
All right.
Because they do like all the. That's how I keep from getting homesick too.
All right. Very cool.
Especially a year that I can't go back. Like this year is the only year. Like I went back February.
Yeah.
I try to go every year, but this Christmas and New Year's. But I mean, they keep the home sickness away because they have all the news on dancehall and Jamaica and everything that's going on in Jamaica. So, as we always say, Jamaica, big up Rick Storm TV and Imhotep University TV. So, thanks, Mike, for everything, and thanks for being here with me, and I appreciate it. And you would be the designated driver tonight because yours is clear. You see the difference between males and females as well, right? Yeah. And muscle content, height, build, all that stuff, estrogen, everything. It's a big difference. Yeah. So thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you.
And bless you, and big up Sarah too.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and look forward to running into you again in another beer
event.
event.
Yeah, I'm gonna March 3rd. I can't forget that date now. 3 of 3.
All right.
I'll be there.
Love it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you, Juliet.